Coming up on the dirty side of the track this week, Brian breaks his own rules.
You know how I always get on my soapbox when they give out penalties and I say you can't take the result of the situation into the penalty? I did that with the race.
Rob develops a strange marketing campaign.
We're not the best. Please can we have a do-over? Because we're not the best and everyone needs to know it.
Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian, that's Rob. A couple hours ago was the Barcelona-Catalunya Grand Prix. I thought it was phenomenal. How are you, Rob?
I have to call you out straight away. No, you didn't. We both thought it was terrible up until about 20 laps to go.
Up until the end. Sometimes the ending can make the race.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we'll get there. We don't want to spoil it too early for the folk that don't know, but it is fair to say that Brian and I were trading some notes that were along the lines of kill me now, kind of free me from this terrible, like, what is this? This is awful. And then let's just file today's race under slow burner category. Yeah. That it definitely came to life. And we'll get there. So we will work our way through news and social. We'll find out what Brian stashed in the video vault. Then we'll take a look at the race weekend and go through our evolving emotions as we went from oh my god to oh my god.
You know how I always get on my soapbox when they give out penalties and I say you can't take the result of the situation into the penalty? I did that with the race. I took the outcome of the race in the end, and I love the whole thing. It totally washed it for me through the machine. It came out great.
Oh man. Oh, right. So let's jump into the news. And as of recording, I still think this holds, but we've got cleanup on Isle Monaco where
But it's not us cleaning up. It's the FIA cleaning it up.
It's the FIA. And I'm actually going to say that I think they made a mistake by cleaning up, but we'll get there. So Alpine put in their right of appeal for Gasly's pit lane speeding penalty. And everyone was like, oh, well, okay, they've appealed. They're the only ones that bothered doing it in the 96 hours window. Nothing's going to happen because the FIA will always go, oh, yeah, no new evidence that we didn't have at the time. Case dismissed. But all of a sudden, on whenever it was, Monday, Tuesday, suddenly it comes out, no, FIA, the stewards are putting it forward because they've got material new evidence that wasn't there. And they released the document to say, you know, what it was, and I was trying to look at various things, and there was some pre-race memo that had been given about the electronics or some kind of setup of, I don't even know. No one ever explained it, but it went through. And then all of a sudden it's, yep, they are going to give Gasman his podium back. They reinstated his 5 seconds, which bumped him up the order, which screwed Sapman's perfect roulette from last week because now it knocked Oscar out of the position that Sap needed to be in. That was the big news of the week.
The Discord went nuts on that one, and I was really bummed because, as we talked about, getting a roulette is rare, and I was happy with my Piastri in 4th, but alas.
So as of now, Brian's lost his roulette and Gasman's got his podium. But McLaren said, hold my beer, and all these appeals started coming out. And everyone online was like, no, they all missed the window. They all missed the 96 hour. You're not allowed to. This is why they have this. That if someone is successful, they don't want everybody else piling in. So you had to have submitted before the 96 hour deadline. Aha. They're not actually appealing that they should get their 5 seconds back. They're appealing the appeal. So they're saying it's not fair that Alpine won. And I guess now they have to put forward some reason as to why. So we're still not quite sure if that's all played out yet. But we think Gasman got his podium. We think Fantasy is completely screwed because no one really knows what's happening. I'll let you cover that in a minute, Brian. And before I do, my little final thing was the FIA have made a huge rod for their own back here because they've kind of admitted, I think, they knew that timing was screwed up. Even if it was the thing about cutting the corner and making the distance and it's whatever, he should have just denied Alpine's appeal and gone, no new evidence, move on.
I completely agree with you on this. Like, to reopen a can of worms like that really, in my mind, benefits nobody because then all of the people who served their penalties, and then got penalized for their penalties, like George, how do you fix it for them? I mean, just in my mind, you can't. You cannot. So case closed, move on. Just leave it like it was. But you nailed the fantasy thing. Rain Berglund, Rain Fantasy, who I follow, at first was like, my guess is they won't change the F1 fantasy points. after the penalties, gets removed and he gets his podium back, it seems a bit late to change anything. But then Fantasy came out and said, we will recalculate, but after the weekend. Wait, so now we're going to have an edit after the Barcelona weekend. So we're going to have an edit to points from the 2 races back. And they're going to have to change points that were scored, potentially dollar increases and decreases. It will be chaos. And I don't know
what
if
happens
we'll ever
because
know.
I'm not paying attention anymore this year. But what happens if you benefited some way from some dollar thing because you played the game and played fantasy algebra, and you were able to afford a new driver this week because your
Exactly,
money went
but
up.
you shouldn't have
and
had
then
the
they go
money.
back and they reverse it all, and the money goes back down again. Aren't you going to be hosed?
That's my point. It is crazy. It opened all kinds of worms everywhere. And the thing is, I had Isaac, so I'm in my old man age, reverting back to I just want the best drivers. I like where they finish high, and that makes me think they're going to score well. And I don't follow the algebra, to your point. I was excited he had a podium. I'm like, all right, this worked out well for me. And now not. But again, I'll lose potentially 10 points, someone said, based on the way this could go. I could go to 59 points for Monaco, from 69 to 59. Maybe I'll make money? Question? I don't know. It's going to be wild. But I guess we'll find out eventually when they finish out Monaco. Then they can tell us what happened with Barcelona, because we need to find out about that too. One other Monaco note. Actually, sorry, 2 more Monaco notes. One is F1 puts out a poster before every race. They put it online. This was the first time in F1 history not a single driver in the pre-race poster scored a point. There were 3 drivers featured boldly in the poster: Lando, Charles, and Max. None of them finished. None of them scored a point. But even better, in the car going around, it's George. And, he famously had a horrendous weekend last weekend. So I think it's fantastic that you had 4 drivers, 3 of them smiling for camera and 1 in the car, and no points. But the thing I did not want to talk about, but I begrudgingly said we need to, is the towel. Can we talk about the towel? It came on a life of its own. So Kim Kardashian walks away from the podium area and just takes, first of all, she touches the first towel, like wipes her hand on the first towel. I think it was Lewis's. Just wipes her hand off. Then the next towel on the next little stand, she grabs it and takes it and starts dabbing her forehead and just walks away with a towel. Who just grabs someone else's stuff in a public place? I don't understand why you would just randomly walk around and take things that aren't meant for you, but because you kind of need it, you're like, oh, I'm just going to take this. How does that? And then Paul Ripke, who does Valtteri's thing, he did this whole social media engineering of George and Kimmy asking what happened to his towel. Did you see that video?
I'll let you run with this because I'm going to file this under I couldn't care less about this towel.
Yeah, I don't either. But they allowed it to get this life of its own, and then he shows up in Barcelona, and they give him a towel. It says to Kimmy from Kim. And I'm like, okay, moving on. Sorry. But then we also did get a sound, and I spent the time, I was on the road yet again, and late one night I found this.
Don't push me, mate. I'm nearly famous.
So
You did it.
I'm going to have to hold on to that one for a while.
And then we got something that really confuses me, and
Me too.
we kind of foreshadowed this in a way that we didn't realize we were foreshadowing it. So ways back, we were talking about this a duo thing where everybody gets the chance, if you're miles off the pace, there's a sliding scale to give people that are way behind some extra credits in the bank to try and do some upgrades, engine upgrades, and tighten the field again. So we're all sitting there going, well, probably Mercedes is the best then by a mile, so it'll be a sliding scale behind that. And then it started to come out, well, no, it's power units. So you measure the power units, not the whole package. I was like, okay, is that really going to mean anything? Well, apparently it does, because much to their surprise, and they've even appealed this, which I love it, Red Bull have come out as the benchmark benchmark engine.
Nice.
They are the best engine, and then everyone else is deemed behind them, so everyone else can play catch up,
including Mercedes.
So Red Bull are the benchmark. Just behind them are Mercedes, and so the Mercedes engine is allowed 1 upgrade. Behind them is the Ferrari engine that's allowed 2 upgrades. Behind them is the Audi engine that's allowed 2, and behind that is Honda that's allowed 2.
Honda should be allowed 5.
Oh, yeah. The bit that just makes me laugh is that, like, in most things where you're the best and you're at the top, you want to crow about it and brag about it and go, yeah, check me out. I'm top of the pile. Red Bull have come out and appealed the decision to say, there's no way we're the best. We're not the best. Please, can we have a do-over? Because we're not the best and everyone needs to know it because we need upgrades.
I thought this was hilarious when I saw this. I was very confused when I screenshotted this that I put in our notes here. I'm like, wait, Red Bull? Wait, what? And then when, like you say, then they came out and appealed it. I'm like, oh boy, this season has been unique for so many reasons.
Oh, yeah, I know. Uh, Then we got the news Pirelli have signed an extension. You know, I don't have a big affinity with Pirelli. I think they make their
Oh,
tires too bulletproof. But
not. I think today they nailed it.
today, even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Oh, jeez, you
Um,
can't even be happy once, can you?
no, no, I really don't like Pirelli. I think they've ruined tire strategy for about 4 years now because, okay, so we got two stopper today, maybe three stopper for some people. Okay, but I'm filing that under a one off until they prove that they can actually make tires that degrade. I don't want this easy one stopper stuff, but I'm not going to get on a rant because there's some good news coming up after that's made me smile. A Williams from 2003, driven by Ralph Schumacher and Montoya, has been restored and was back in action. The FW25 was restored by the Williams team, their heritage division, and it was engineers who originally worked on it in the 2003. On Friday, the renovated car, powered by a 3-liter V10, took to the Nürburgring. So, yeah, and the quote was, it's been restored to run the engine exactly as it would have been in 2003. So 19,000 RPM, 3-liter V10.
Wow,
Yes.
that's amazing. I didn't see that. I would like to watch that. That's pretty cool.
Oh,
Speaking of things to watch, shall we talk about the video vault?
let's do it.
All right. First, I have to find the door to the vault this week. As I mentioned, it was a kind of crazy week. I ended up having one night where I had nothing to do, and so I was in my hotel room, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch some YouTube, and I'll say Lollipop Man was epic from Monaco. Matty P won. Best reactions was not as good as usual. It's more about them being at the race and their fandoms and the crushing of their spirits with Max and Charles, which is fine. But I was there for the memes, baby. Not making the podium this week. Alex Albon versus Carlos Sainz World Cup Challenge. Atlassian Williams F1 channel, 7 minutes. This was the first not great Williams video they've had in a while. They've been on fire from the crazy Wilkinson sword thing to the.
That was not on fire. That was terrible. That
No,
was the
it was
worst piece of
great.
video.
If you're gonna, let me put it this way: I watched the whole thing just cringing, but I stayed for the whole video. Like, what is happening?
That doesn't make it great.
Yeah, potato, potato. And so this one wasn't great. Looks like it was recorded maybe even a preseason practice or something. I don't know. It was fine. But on the podium, on the third step, behind the scenes of the Monaco Grand Prix 2026, Cadillac Formula One team, 5 minutes. I enjoy these. These are short. They're focused on a team we really enjoy supporting. And Paul was in it. So I liked it. Second step of the podium, Carlos Sainz rates Tokyo Drift, Talladega Nights, and F1 movie clips, Slice Joint, on the First We Feast channel. This is 15 and a half minutes. Carlos is an absolute treasure. This was fine. Like the guy, it's just an interview, but they, use a gimmick. And so it's at a pizza place. And it was great because, again, Carlos is just phenomenal. And at the very end, as they do on the First We Feast channel, tell us what you're promoting, the guy says. Like, I'm thinking, he's a driver. I don't understand what he's here promoting Williams. F1? I don't know. So Carlos looks at the camera and goes, nothing. I'm just going to Canada to drive. And so I'm like, that was perfect. And then finally on the top step, Tag Heuer, Guess the Champion Monaco edition with Patrick Dempsey, Callum Turner, and Yuki Tsunoda on the Tag Heuer channel. That's right. I went to the watch shop. 5 minutes. Love this. Patrick Dempsey is one of us. He is an F1 nerd through and through. We got to get him on the pod. He was pulling trivia out that Yuki didn't know and made Yuki look kind of bad at some points. But Dempsey is one of us. He just watches with rapt attention and he remembers things. And it's like, bro, you should be on the pod. We could do a Sap Stats together. That was the video vault. Anything to add, Rob? I don't want to close you in.
No, all good.
All right.
Okay, so then we trucked around to Barcelona, and FP1 came along, and it was brand new names that maybe a lot of people had never heard of before because it was rookie slash reserve central. They all get allocated certain races each year to get a certain number of laps and sessions in the car. So when people started going, "Oh, Colton Herta's going to get a chance in Barcelona," yes, he is, with a whole bunch of other people. We had Dino Beganovic in a Ferrari in place of Lewis. So losing out on FP1 is probably going to hurt Lewis over this weekend. I don't expect great things from him. He probably won't be able to do anything in the race.
That's about right.
Ayamu Iwasa, I think that's probably close enough, was in the Red Bull instead of Isaac. Here we go, another one. Leonardo Foranaro. No, I can't do that one. I lost it. Come on, Brian, bail me out.
And the McLaren in place of Lando. You were close enough. Fred Vesti in the Mercedes.
Oh, I see. So you're not going to bail me out and say it. You can't.
We just moved on. Paul Aaron in the Audi in place of the Hulk. We already talked about Colton Herta in the Caddy and for Checo, and Luke Browning in Williams in place of Alex. And I think Luke Browning was actually the receptionist in the Wilkinson Sword video.
Let's not mention that ever again. It's a terrible video. But really, FP1, nothing really happened. FP2, nothing really happened. I mean, George was quickest in FP1, Lando quickest in FP2. Just nothing. And then I'll even go as far as FP3. Not a lot happened. Didn't really get that excited by any of the sort of quali runs or anything. It was just, McLaren, have they been sandbagging a bit? They're looking a bit spicy. Spoiler alert, no.
No, and I thought they'd be better. I thought for some reason what we saw in Miami would come back in Barcelona. I was expecting a McLaren resurgence here, and it didn't happen. And I think actually when we get to the casino games, I may have done a straddle where I got everything wrong instead of hoping to have gotten something right. So.
True. So then we moved to quali, and just again, kind of. Look, we beat up on Spain a little bit last week, saying that because the drivers know it so well, it doesn't always tend to get us off our seat. And I just sort of say Q1, not a lot really. Maybe the people we expect to go out. We got both Astons, both Cadillacs, Hassan and Williams. I've got a note later that both those two teams seem to have forgotten how to drive. They lost all of their early season pace, and
Williams didn't really have any really early season pace. They just haven't improved much. But Haas,
they were point scoring though.
Haas did though.
Yeah, no, they did. Yeah, but Williams, because I have the Williams app, every time they score points, you get this little collector badge that you collect, a badge for the race and a badge for points. And I haven't got to do the badge for points, double points for a while. They just seem to.
Well, but the funny thing is, I was in the FP2 that I did see. They talked a little bit about Haas, and they talked about the fact that the car was more, I don't know what the word is, reliable, tunable, understandable earlier in the season, and they've brought upgrades, and they can't control what's coming out of the car anymore. Like, it's unpredictable when they do things. They did a downgrade. They did an Aston Martin downgrade at Williams, or at a Haas, which is crazy because they almost should just go back to the spec from the beginning of the year because it was better then, it seemed.
Yeah. So the only thing of note maybe was that Albon went out, like we said, but then Stroll out qualified Alonso, which was a bit of a shocker. It breaks some 50-year streak of him being out qualified by Alonso. And then at first I was going to say, and Hulk went and popped it up into fifth. But then my excitement was kind of dampened a little bit when I realized that the rest of the top 11 didn't bother going out because they knew they were all safe. So yeah, that's who we lost. Q2 again, really not a lot happened other than me now starting to dawn on me that maybe McLaren aren't going to be looking pole position worthy, and unless they're really sandbagging and holding it all back for Q3, that McLaren isn't going to go too well here either. So
yeah, we lost Carlos and Ali to close out Williams and Haas, both Alpines. We lost the Audi of Bortoleto and the Racing Bull of Arvid. I was shocked when I was watching this that they didn't send Isaac back out. He was like 8th, and they let him sit in the garage. And I'm like, that is some serious confidence that there aren't two cars that can do something out there and ruin your day. And I literally was standing, 2 minutes left. I'm standing at the TV. I'm just standing. I'm waiting for the little in-pit, the P to go away and to see him back out on track. No. I'm like, bold courage by Red Bull.
Yeah, and then maybe
Hannah knew what she knew, but boy.
Yes, exactly. And then maybe in some foreshadowing, as qualifying was a bit of a slow burner, and the race is going to be as well. Q1 and Q2 were pretty boring, but Q3 kind of came
Yeah,
alive
yeah, yeah.
because Charles Leclerc, under pressure from making a mess of things last week, decided to show that he can always make a mess of things if you just give him the chance.
I
And they
can't.
spent so long. They spent so long over analyzing his line into the corner, and I do like that. I do like it when Karun puts the kind of two corners side by side, and they watch him go through the previous lap. They watch him come in the next one. They can pinpoint the exact moment, but you can do all the analysis you want in the world. My analysis, my eyes told me the output. He put it right in the wall.
Yeah.
It's game over.
We were talking about this. There was a long period of time where the yellow flag was out, and then they put a little graphic on, a new graphic to me at least. Leclerc off the track. Okay, can we see it? Can we please see it? No. It
No, you
took
don't need to see it.
forever for them to finally show us Leclerc, and he was in the wall proper, big style. And as they did the analysis, Martin Brundle said he was on the dirty side of the track. I don't have that sound clip yet, but just for everyone's benefit, we do collect them, and I will collect that one. Here's Charles.
The dirty side of the track.
He wants to come on the show. He's twice.
On the dirty side of the track.
See, Charles knows where he was. Crofty likes to talk about it.
Dirty side of the track.
I make sure we have all these. Lando's even talked about us.
The dirty side of the track.
Thanks, Lando. Martin, has done others as well. He's done this one.
The dirty side of the track.
And then Simon on the pre-show.
The dirty side of the track.
So we've got
Exactly. We'll just stack that one in there. It
we'll
was
add
a
a new
great
Martin.
one. This one.
Yeah, we'll add a new Martin to it. Now, before we finish out quali and what happened, as I said, I did call Rob, and I had two very important things to tell Rob yesterday. Number one is that this wasn't Charles's fault, and once again, it's not his fault. The track was falling apart again. The brakes were bad. And a bird flew right in front of the car and distracted him.
I think the sun was in his eyes as well. Yeah. And that wind that came from nowhere.
There was an engine brake. Yes, there was a gust.
Wind.
A gust from the gods right at the wrong moment. And I fully expected the old Charles radio message from, what was it, Paul Ricard? I sort of envisioned this coming over the radio. So I had to lean into it because I was defending Charles last week, so I had to call Rob and tell him that I saw it happen.
And the other thing you called me about?
Do you want me to mention that now?
I think you do, because it's going to bed in nicely for as we go through the weekend.
So you guys may know this. I love driver numbers and using them in my life all the time. If a driver number comes up, I will say, "Oh, Kimi Antonelli, 12." I kind of got like the, "Oh, look at this, a good sign." So I got home. I was out late Friday doing errands, and I had to pay for something in cash. And as I put my wallet away, I realized I had exactly $44. And I said, "This is a good sign for the weekend." I got Lewis Hamilton money in my pocket, and I called Rob, and I'm like, "Yo, I got $44 in my wallet. I'm not going to spend another dollar till this Grand Prix is done. Good luck for Lewis."
Yeah, and at which point I mocked you because what had just happened was we'd just seen the quali result, and Kimi had gone top, George had come round and gone top, and then Lewis was on an absolute flyer, and I'm thinking, Brian's $44 had done it, and then he just came second, and then Brian calls me. I'm like, well, what are you bragging about? You couldn't even put Lewis on pole, but put a pin in that one. We will revisit the $44. So we had George from Lewis. So what a front line there.
Yeah.
The old Merc boys back together again. Kimi and Lando, Max and Isaac, Oscar and Liam, and Hulkenberg and Charles Leclerc starting down in 10th. So she had all the setup of being a really spicy first few laps, because you've got maybe a fast starting Ferrari in Lewis, you've got a fast starting Ferrari in Charles, who desperately needs to make up some places. You've got Oscar maybe feeling a bit ego bruised being down there. Maybe Lando wants a sniff. Kimi needs to get in there. It's all going to be like amazing.
Or was it? Or will it? What I will say is, now another thing we got wrong. Well, why say another? We never get anything wrong. I think we're batting 100%. In Canada, Rob looks at me in person as we're at the race, and he says, "I'm sensing first corner carnage." And he explained exactly how it was going to happen, what was going to go down, and the mess that was going to happen. And nothing happened. And then before Monaco, he and I both predicted, and me especially, I leaned in on first corner carnage. Max is going to take out Kimi. We're going to have a big battle. Nothing happened. And so then before this, we're talking about, it's such a long run from the grid boxes down to the corner, one of the longest on the calendar. I could definitely see Lewis getting a good start in that Ferrari, and maybe some chaos happening nothing happened.
Well, and he was on softs as well, so he's definitely going to be lightning.
Right.
But it just seems like Mercedes have fixed their issue. Ferrari don't have a supply of magic mushrooms anymore, and George held him off, and really not a lot happened. Really, really nothing a lot happened. Charles jumped up from 10th to 7th. Good start by him. Hadjar put his car into reverse and went from 5th or wherever he was down to 13th.
I'd like to thank Isaac for doing that, because that was the only fun for the first half of the race, was watching him do overtakes.
Well, you want to know how kind of paranoid we were that we were in for a snooze fest. This is probably one of the earliest times I've ever written in the notes, but lap 4, I'm like, 4 laps in and everybody is already spreading out. Nobody is in overtake mode zone. Please don't let this be the usual Spanish snooze fest. Please, it can't be, will it? And it started to pan out that way. We had Stroll came in and retired after the 6th lap. We had Hulkenberg and Lindblad under investigation, but as I wrote, it's got to be a lap 1 incident. It was just, people. I mean, we had Charles with reactions of a ninja to not collect Oscar Piastri, where we haven't had this closing speed issue for a while. I don't know if it was that or if it was just he was able to brake later, but all of a sudden we saw an onboard where it was like that tunnel in Monaco.
Last second. It was Isaac in the tunnel in Monaco when he did that. That was it. I'm a little nervous this was a Charles situation where he was just like not sure which way to go. He's like, I could go left, I could go right, but I'm catching him. And then he's like at the last minute, or I should slam the brakes and go left. Oh man, yeah. I mean, so again, Charles kept trying to line up Oscar. He gets him up to 6th by going around the outside. Lindblad was doing a defensive job against Isaac, and then the board. I'm watching the tower, and Isaac moves up, and then he moves up one more eventually. And they didn't show any of these on time. We kept getting replays in the little box. And I'm like, come on, this is like the only thing I want to see at this point is an overtake. And no. We didn't get a lot of that. Max didn't like his tires. And then I have a question for you. Lewis, who we already talked about starting on softs, lap 12, he boxes for softs. And then in 13, George comes in and Max comes in. So Lewis pulled the pin, but then the medium runners boxed right after to avoid an undercut. But they were on a different strategy.
Yeah.
So why'd they box so early?
I don't know.
Did they panic? Like, it's almost like they said, like they thought they were all on the same strategy. Like, they boxed, we don't want to get undercut. They're going 3 stopping. Why are you boxing on a 2-stopper this early?
I had the same thought because I'm like, well, Lewis is even only just at the beginning of the window for soft. So they went real early and went, well, we're not really making any hay while the sun shines on these tires. Let's get onto the hards and do a long stint. Medium runners have got another. They were projecting 20-something, maybe, I think, was the window for
66 laps. We're 12 in, and they're boxing off mediums? Why?
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe that. And then that kind of, we had, like you say, we had George in, we had Max in, we had Lando in, we had Kimmer in, we had Oscar in. Everybody over a few laps all started coming in, even though they were all medium runners. It was like Ferrari sort of just hoodwinked everybody into copying their strategy, which we don't normally say for Ferrari, but if that was meant, I mean, genius move. Then, unfortunately, we got Bottas having to retire his car. We saw the radio message, box to retire the car, so something was screwed in there again. Charles came in from, I think, the lead at this point because he'd stayed out and came on for hard. So I was like, okay, that's... Charles has made his way up through the order a little bit of recovery, but not a lot has happened. All we've really had is like the Hadjar overtake show as he carried on overtake, and we had another one on lap 18. I was like, well, at least Hadjar's giving us something to watch, even like you say, if it is in tiny box that we can't really see.
Yeah, I'm way too much of an Isaac fanboy, so I was loving that, like you say, even in the tiny box. Alpine switched the cars. Colapinto rightfully had questions about it because it's lap 20 of 66. Lewis, they tell him we're on plan C. We're back to Ferrari plans. Someone open the file cabinet, figure out which that one is. And then we saw one more overtake from Isaac. I loved it on lap 21. Yeah, and at this point we're typing in the notes. I'm thinking thank God for Isaac, but we typed, this is boring. Should we go on to the end section of the race already? I mean, like, it was getting kind of slow. Rob,
It was getting.
yeah. You tell people your idea for what we should have done at lap 24.
No, I'm not even going to get to that bit yet. How bored we were. We were just descended into trading basically shots at each other in the notes. And we break our notes up to kind of do the beginning, the middle, and the end because it helps us. If we need to jump around a bit, it reminds us, especially if one can't see the race live and does it on catch up, we can kind of align our notes so we're roughly saying the same thing at the same time. See, we're professionals here.
Yeah,
but I'm there thinking, right,
production value.
it's a 66 lap race, which means we'll do the beginning will be the first 22. Then we'll do the next 22. Yeah. Then we'll do the next 22 because it perfectly fits. 66 lap race, 22, 22, 22. Best note I made on lap 22 was Brian's already decided to go on to the middle on lap 21 because why wait to the actual 22 when it's the actual nice break? Because this is how much interest the race was holding at this time. Then I came up with the whole, if we feed these notes that we're writing together into AI along with a sample of our voices, can it just record the pod for us? Because if this doesn't get any better, I'm not looking forward to recording later today.
Yeah. Even though I loved the race now in retrospect.
I mean, right now you're loving it, right? I mean, yeah, take us through it.
I'm still buzzing. Right? I'm waiting for more interviews. No, yeah. So at this point, it was pretty slow. Hulk and Lawson were trying to spice things up for us, and then Pierre got his nose in there, so maybe the swaparoo at Alpine did work. I don't know, question. But they were fighting for ninth, and again, it was fun to see them battle a little bit because there was nothing else happening. Lap 28, Lewis pits again for mediums, short stint on those hards, and I was just waiting for everyone else to box again until they realized they are on two stoppers.
And then this was the bit where I was like, they've messed this up. Like, why have they done such a short stint on the hards? They went to the minimum window on the softs, which was lap 12. Here we are at 28, so 16 compared to 12 on hards. I'm like, what the hell is already... Oh, no, Ferrari, what have you done? So at this point, I've completely thrown all my Ferrari toys out my pram, and I'm like, well, that's that then. But then at least now, all of a sudden... Kimi started taking nibbles with Lewis out of the way and pitting to come out on mediums. Kimi was now, eating into George's lead. This set of laps, it was like, wow, he started off before. I wasn't even paying attention. It just seemed like it wasn't Kimi's day. Spoilers, it won't be. But he goes from like 4.9 behind within about 3 or 4 laps. It was like 1.4. And by the time I'd written 1.4, I had to scrub that. It's 0.9. He's now inside the overtake mode. It was like he just suddenly found an extra gear. It's like, oh, when I get to 6, that's not the top one. I've got one more here that I can move up to.
Oh, yeah. Hulk retired at this point. It looked like a regular pit stop. And we only saw it for a second, but it looked like the team was doing a regular pit stop, but then he couldn't get the car going. We're recording fairly quickly after the race, so I don't know what exactly happened to Hulk. I do remember later on in the race, it was so boring I forgot he'd retired and that I'd written that as we're doing this. Lando boxes on 36. They announced, Lewis thinking a 3-stopper gives him a chance. He said, I think we got a chance. All right. I hope so. I still have $44 in my pocket, Lewis. I'm doing that for you, buddy. And so, yeah, George boxes from the lead. Priority call from him. 37, Kimi boxes. Same pit stop times. Comes out just ahead of Lando. Just ahead of him, but holds it. Which is a bummer, because I always love it when a car comes out of the pits and they're ahead and they have... Their tires aren't up to temperature yet, and they have to defend for their lives. And the car that's coming up behind them has tires in the window and takes them. I enjoy that. That kind of you're Bambi on ice. Your tires aren't ready. I haven't seen a lot of that this year. It feels like you get out ahead of somebody and track position wins with these cars. I don't know why, but I don't feel like a lot of people have come out of the pits and been overtaken. Feels like you come out, you get track position, you hold it more this year. But anyhow,
yeah. And at this point, Lewis was really on a charge. He was absolutely gobbling up the time, and it was like, oh my gosh, they're both going to have to stop one more time. But if Lewis can carry on going on these tires, and by the time he does his third one, he'll be on even fresher rubber, and oh my gosh, we might have a race on our hands. And starting to buy into it, starting to think, do you know what? Maybe there is a chance that this is coming to Lewis. It's starting to bubble along. And then Charles does a great team member game here where he properly holds George up and gets elbows out and forces him to go the long way around him and costs him probably a couple of valuable seconds as Lewis is eating into this. I'm thinking, Lewis might have this. And then if Lewis might have this, if the racing gods were smiling on anybody today, it was definitely Lewis Hamilton, although I'll come back to that later. Alonso is off track, and we're like, ooh. And we get VSC, and it looks like Ferrari have messed up because Lewis goes past, and Max comes in for a nice cheap stop. But it's, oh no, can he? And all the Ferrari mechanics come out. I'm like, oh, is this going to be one of those things where just as he comes into the pit lane, the VSC ends and it's actually not a cheap pit stop? But he doesn't. It's actually perfect. He comes in, he gets his cheap pit stop, and before anybody else could think about copying it, the moment he's basically released by the Jackman, VSC's ending, and that's it. They literally couldn't have gone too much longer and still got the freebie. I mean, that was. Whew.
Yeah, and at this point, what lap was this? 42.
Yeah,
and so we get this great cheap pit stop for Lewis, the radio call, and you are in front, and I'm like, yeah, baby. And at this point now, I'm excited. And then I look at the timing tower. Albon retired. Didn't see it. Didn't talk about it. Had no idea. The list of retired cars in the bottom left is growing. And this is then, like I said to Rob, Hulk retired too? He's like, yeah, you dummy. You wrote that. And so at lap 44, like the $44 in my wallet and the 44 on his car, Lewis is out front with younger tires. Merckx battling behind him. Couldn't have dreamt for a better scenario. I do think that if there hadn't been a VSC, Lewis had the pace and would have had fresher tires. I know that doesn't guarantee you breezing by somebody, but I do think he had a good chance to win this without.
I was going to hold that till the end, but we're talking about it now. Then I guess.
Yeah, we're talking about it here because
no, I totally. Front. He wins. He wins by so many seconds in the 20. End that I think that completely null and voids the fact that VSC, of course, it helped and track position is king, but I just think he would have gobbled them up. I honestly do. I think he would have caught them and he would have passed them on track.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it just it didn't look yet again like George had any response to anything. He didn't have an answer to Kimi. He's going to get lucky. He's going to get super lucky later on. But he went off at the beginning. He sort of moaned at his team about not telling him that the first stint he should have been extending because he thought he was managing tyres, and then they boxed him to match Ferrari. And he's like, well, you screwed me because I should have been pushing then if we were going to pit early. So maybe he's got something there about the Merck team. But then from that moment on, he never really took it to anybody. He was always being chased rather than the chaser. He had Lewis was coming up a great rate of knots, and then obviously passed him under this VSC. And then we'll start to see Kimi then starts getting right up behind George. And at this point, you're like, well, Merck might need to do something here because, and I think they kind of alluded to it on a radio message, and I think it was around here somewhere, where these two are just fighting each other. And as they're fighting each other, Lewis's lead is just like racking up. It's just disappearing into the distance. It's like, guys, you've either got to go after Lewis or you two are just going after each other for second spot because you've lost this race if you carry on going the way you're going.
Well, and Kimi said he had more pace, which is, every teammate, when you're behind your teammate, every teammate says that.
Yep.
And they actually did get on the radio to George and say, you got to speed up, George. So I was expecting team orders to potentially come through here, which would have been brutal for George. But we didn't get that. We had Albon back on track, which is, again, one of my favorite parts of F1, where a car retires, is in the garage for 10 or 15 laps, and then comes back out back from the dead. And when the Aston Martins did that earlier this season as they were working on getting laps in, I just think it's so novel when you look at the timing board and someone's 8 laps down, but the retired cars above them are still further into the race. So you gotta kind of go down through the gray retired out, Albon, +8. I'm like, oh, welcome back, Alex. He had a loose F1 camera, according to James Vowles, and they had to fix it, which is interesting. But then, like you say, Kimi is up George's trumpet. And McLaren Lando behind Kimi is calling in all of his track limit penalties. Like over and over again, that he thinks he's got track limits. And so we're watching this.
No. One bit we missed. After all this beautiful, amazing stuff that was panning out for Lewis, we got that horrible message come over the radio of like, he could have a yellow flag infringement. We were like, oh, that's not what you want to be hearing. But I think by this point, just as Kimi started then getting all feisty on the back of George, Lewis's under investigation went away with no further action. So you knew at this point now, he was so far up the road, there's no point doing team orders at Mercedes because neither of them are going to go and chase Lewis down. We're at lap 61. There's no way they're eating into 15 seconds. So Kimi basically goes, well, I better get it done on track then.
So he does. I loved when he came down the main straight and he goes to the right. And George is like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make this easy on you, buddy. And runs him into the grass, which broke his wing. He broke the end plate on his wing somehow. The piece of grass came flying up and hit it. I don't know. But he pushes him way out wide. Kimi gets by. It's a wild battle. George is right behind him trying to take it back. Lap 61, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, this is wild. And then all of a sudden, they show him, Kimi, as he passes George rolling up to the side of the track, no drive. He's just coasting. And you realize, like, oh my God, he's coasting. And then they show Charles. He's coasting. I'm like, what is happening? Every car is letting go from the top five, and you can't figure out what's going on. Did they throw a flag for Kimi and Charles saw it and others didn't? And it's just wild. And but it was different. Kimi lost his engine. He had no drive. Charles lost his hydraulics. He had no anything except engine.
He had no steering. It was
steering,
his steering
no
hydraulic.
Yeah.
Do you see the one where they showed the replay where he came to go around the corner and the steering went, I don't fancy doing that. Let's just go straight over the grass instead. I'm not going to give you any steering lock whatsoever.
None.
Yeah,
we get a VSC as Charles retires. He gets it back around. But we get a VSC for Kimi. The Marshals played the best game of can we fit this car in this corner, and they had to do like 7 attempts. It was like what was the Austin Powers? It was like Austin Powers when he had the golf cart in that hallway, and he had to go back and forth 20 times. And the Marshals finally got it in there. And at this point, it got a little dusty in my room. The allergies started acting up as I teared up a little thinking about Lewis finally getting this win at Ferrari. It was amazing.
I couldn't. I was thinking, like, with all the gremlins going on, with Charles out, Kimi out, all these cars falling apart, I'm like, please, racing gods, 2 laps left. Please do not do anything to Lewis's car right now. But it was amazing. It was just absolutely amazing. When he finally came around that final corner, I could see the checkered flag. Even if it breaks down now, he's got 15 seconds, 20 seconds. He can just get out and push across the line if he needs to now.
It was
brilliant.
1 lap of green racing, 66 as the VSC ends. Harry Benjamin, who was filling in for Crofty, wanted everybody to know now is not the time to go to the bathroom. Thanks, Harry. If you need to go to the loo, don't go now. What?
Well, he's talking to you because he knows what kind of bladder you've got. He's like the sat man. He's like, just hold it. You want to watch this?
I was doing fine, Harry. I had it under control. Oh, Lewis, the team radio was great. He was so excited to bring that thing in with the win. I love the fact that the first driver he got a hug from was Kimi. Yeah. So Kimi had ridden back on the moped and found his way down to the podium and walked over and he walked into the podium parking area and gave Lewis the first hug. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I mean, that's really neat that Kimi, obviously grew up watching Lewis, but I thought that was pretty cool.
It was just amazing. It was like all this we kept hearing, like first all British podium since 1968. We must have heard 1,968 times just to go with the year. We had Lewis had driven for all 3 teams and won for all 3 teams that were on the podium.
That was a SAP stat. I got that one before. I didn't also put that in there.
Oh, okay. And then just him throwing a trophy in the air. I'm glad he didn't drop it.
Yeah.
And it was just a wholesome podium. It was just the Italian national anthem being sung with so much gusto, and then the spraying of the champagne. It was just
106 wins for Lewis. He's the oldest winner since 1970, I believe I heard. Ooh. 16th driver to win with 3 teams. Poor man's edition of SAP stats there, but I thought those were all great stats. I thought it saved the race.
It did.
The first 2/3 were, if not for Isaac, really boring. The last third was phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. Once it became clear that the 3-stop was putting Lewis on a chance to do this, without the VSC, it was going to be a much faster strategy. I was like, this is getting interesting. So yes, if we could just a lot of people always say, watch the last 3 minutes of basketball because that's the most exciting. Today's was, if you haven't seen it, you're going to watch the highlights. Just skip to lap 44. Don't even worry about the first part. You'll still see everything. So,
which, by the way, can we also do 2 other random things and then come back here? One is the Knicks won last night and they pulled off all their victories at the end. And when Seinfeld showed up, my friends and I thought it was great because the Spurs can take the lead, but they can't hold the lead. And holding the lead is what really matters. Anyone can take the lead. It's the holding that matters, and that's what they lost. So congrats to the Knicks, and in particular, assistant coach, who's a friend of ours on the team. So we're very excited for the Knicks and for Darren, and it's just a great story. In addition, Le Mans was won by Toyota this morning, 24 hours.
You're going to mess up Cadillac Corner.
Oh, sorry. I did not see that you'd added that there. Well, I'll hold that thought then. We'll talk about Le Mans in a second. Oh, I mean, can I ask a question of you, Rob, in all seriousness, as we recap this race? We didn't talk about the batteries at all. And
no.
it was a wide open track, more so than Monaco, right? And we didn't talk about the batteries at all, but we also didn't talk about a lot of overtakes, except Isaac.
I know. I was thinking this all the way through. It's like, you got to be careful what you wish for. People didn't like the yo-yoing overtaking at the beginning of the season. So they've adjusted it, and it's given us much qualifying because people feel like they're wringing the neck of that car in qualifying. But we do seem to have lost a little bit of what we had at the beginning. I think people were a little bit too eager to get rid of the yo-yoing, and maybe there's some little fine-tuning they can do to, because, yeah, I'm with you. We didn't really get much. We just got Isaac, really.
Yeah.
Keeping us interested. And that was pretty much it.
And then we did have tire drama. So the old-fashioned strategy questions came up. 2-stop, 3-stop. What does it matter? How are you going to manage your tires? And I appreciate
which I'm all here for that.
Me too.
Oh, 100% for that, because that's how I want Grand Prix to be, that different teams can come up with different ways. When we arrive and we know that unless you get extenuating circumstances, this is a one-stopper, I die inside a little bit. Like, I know I'm not a tire geek, you are, but I'm a strategy geek. And the fact today that a 3-stop was faster than the 2-stop, I'm all here for that. I loved it.
Me too. And so that's why I think I enjoyed this race. It brought back some of the old strategic tire questions. It brought back a win for Lewis Hamilton, one of the greatest of all times. Whether you love him or hate him, I'm sure you had to appreciate the journey he's been on. It put Ferrari at the top. It was fun to see the Scarlet car do that. And we didn't moan about batteries. So, like, for me, it felt kind of good. It felt kind of retro. It felt kind of like it was enjoyable. Yeah, the first 2/3 were slow, but the last third brought it home for me. So that's kind of the way I'd summarize it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still wishing that I could have not tuned in until lap 44 if I'd have known, but... sorry, by the way, I was just keeping a note on the Discord because a message just popped up, and it's come from Andy. Andy just popped in the Discord. The reason for Hulkenberg's DNF was because Lawson went wide in turn 12 and kicked up gravel. And that gravel hit the emergency kill switch, shutting down Hulk's car completely. Yes, you read that right.
No way.
It can't be. No way.
That's a perfect shot.
And then the other one, because you've already done the Seinfeld shout out, is that Alonso, I put this in the Discord as well. Alonso was said before the race, I'm going to stay here to watch the race. It's better than being in the car. And it was when he was on the driver's parade. And I'm like, this guy is moaning so much about his car. Do you remember when George was trying to get fired in Seinfeld just so he could go and take the other job? So Alonso got a really long contract, and he's just trying to annoy Lawrence Stroll so much that he just lets him out of his contract in silly season and says, go drive somewhere else then if you don't like Aston. Because otherwise, if you're not trying to do that, Alonso, stop moaning. You're going to make yourself look a little bit of an idiot if you keep doing this. We know you got a bad car and you don't like it, but...
Well, he didn't say anything for so long. He was so positive with such a bad car for the first few races. What happened? At some point, he just said, like, he snapped. Like, he just said, I'm done. I'm done pretending this is okay.
And now he's just going to drive around the front of the Yankees, dragging the trophy behind it in the parking lot.
100%.
Right, do you want to do King of the Pits and the Pits?
Let's do it.
Hey, you're the king of the pits.
I mean, if we don't agree on this one, then I don't know what to say about us.
Well, should we just both say Lewis and then play the Pits music?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The king is Lewis.
Lewis.
All right. You almost said it on the right time. All right. Well, this time we'll go to the pits.
You're the pits.
All right. I like to go first because I'm going to do something, if that's okay. I'm requesting a first shot here because this hurts me. It hurts me deep to my core. Charles Leclerc. It hurts me so bad. I still am in disbelief that he's at fault for Monaco. I still don't think he is. That's how much I'm in disbelief. His quali crash. Come on, man. I know he had nothing to do with the hydraulics letting go, but that's just, it's like when things start going wrong and you're not doing well, the luck doesn't break your way either. And I feel like George has that kind of going on for him right now where he just can't get out of his own way and his luck is bad because that's what he's made of it. But Charles has it worse. At least George had a good weekend going for most of it. And then it just didn't work out this weekend. Charles has had 2 weeks in a row that have been dreadful. 2 race weekends in a row that have just been dreadful. And I don't remember who said it. It was either Callum Nicholas. What's the gentleman? He was on F1 TV. He was great. He's the old Red Bull mechanic, worked for Max. He was there. He was phenomenal. It was either him or Juan Pablo Montoya. They said what Charles needs to do is separate the bad luck he's having and his bad performances from Lewis's rise. Because if he ties them together, he's going to get into his own head that Lewis is better than he is. He needs to, for himself, divorce the two things from each other and go about his business next weekend, within 2 weeks in Austria. So, anyhow, I'm giving it to my boy Charles, and I wanted to do it before you beat me to it in case you were going to do it too.
I am, and for the first time in Dirty Side history, we now have a 3-race streak where we've given out exactly the same King of the Pits and the Pits.
Really?
So, yeah, in Canada, we both said Lewis King, both said McLaren the Pits. Monaco, we both said Kimi the King and FIA the Pits. And now we've got Lewis King and Charles Pits. Yeah, I just thought Charles had a race-winning car in his hands, and I don't really understand why he was pushing where he was pushing on that lap or why he was trying to do something different with a different line or whatever it was that led to it. It's like, you've got to just take care of business on a Saturday and be in the mix. And by doing something like that, you're just not. You can't win championships by doing that type of thing. You can't win races doing that type of thing.
Yeah.
The only person that can do that is Max Verstappen when he has a ridiculously dominant car and can start anywhere and win the race. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. So should we see what the man, the myth, the legend, Pitlane Paul thought about the whole thing?
As always, it's a pleasure to have Paul reporting from the track. Let's hear what he had to say.
Hey now, Barcelona done. I'm just walking through the paddock. I've just dropped Valtteri off to his transfer to the airport. I'm just walking back to get on my bike, go back to my camper van, slowly pack up, and then get the hell out of here. It's hopefully tonight. I don't want to go too much into logistical plans, but my aim will be to sort of get quite a long way over towards Nice, and then maybe have a couple of hours sleep and then get over in the morning. So all good. Anyway, you don't want to hear about me. You don't want to hear about me. You don't want to hear anything about me, especially what you don't want to hear is me gloating. And I am going to gloat. And do you know why I'm going to gloat? It's because I told you so. I said last year several times, do not judge Lewis Hamilton on last year. And I don't think I need to go too much further into that. It was the old Lewis. It was a masterclass. He's got a car that was just unbelievable. And listen, we all criticise Ferrari a little bit, and he and them, I thought were excellent today. So whereas we like to kick people down, let's also pick people up and say that was incredible. Excellent from them. Excellent from him. What else is there to say, really? Apart from that, it was actually great. It was a good race. It was just one of those races that you kind of like. I think I think you know what I mean here. It wasn't world-classly brilliant in terms of a spectacle, but it was one of those you knew that towards the end of the race it was just going to be unbelievable, which naturally happened.
We feel the same, Paul.
I guess I'm a bit bummed about the DNFs, especially Kimi, because he was excellent. I mean, George, my word, he's got lucky again today, and it's brought title fight a little bit closer. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite an interesting one. It's an unusual issue from him. Well, not from him, not that he did anything wrong, I would say. I just think it's really it's got a cat amongst the pigeons for one of the better phrase. So, yeah, I think George got off really lucky. I think he's probably it's a good P2, but I think also in the cold hard scheme of things, he will probably look at himself and think, well, he was passed on track by his much younger teammate. He was hounding him all weekend. Lando, I thought, actually drove amazingly well to keep that far ahead of Oscar. As for us, I don't want to go too much into it. Another weekend to forget. To be honest, now we're starting to see issues with our car, which we kind of thought we'd have more at the start of the year. You gotta turn these into positives. I'm one of these people that always puts positive spins on things. The reason I say you gotta keep it positive is because, there are issues. There are things that we're doing wrong. There are things that we suck at as a team. But it's such a young team that you have to learn from those. So as much as it's hard, actually you've got to learn from them, and they've got to start improving. And that's the hallmark of what a race team is. And any race team in that pit lane would tell you the same. I mean, I don't want to throw mud at another team, but I mean, we've got to look at Aston Martin. Look at the job they've done this year, how poor that is. You've got to look at Alpine last year. Okay, they've had a podium. Was it right? Was it wrong, the podium for Monaco? I don't have a massive opinion. I think there was an issue with the speeding thing. I just think there's a lot more repercussions from that as we might get into this week. Who knows? But yeah, again, what I think my point being is it's a game of fine margins, this sport. So yeah, let's see. I am mildly optimistic of the future. It sucks at the moment, to be honest, a little bit, but we're going to get there. I have got the confidence in that. But I don't want to talk about us. I mean, I told you, Lewis Hamilton. I told you don't write him off. I told you everything. No one listened to me. Sap didn't listen to me. He abused me. He probably didn't, but let's say he did for the artistic effect.
I did not.
Rob's always been a Ferrari fan, so he don't really count. But brilliant. I'm so super happy for him. It's so good. And sorry, a full British top 3.
And that's the end. It just
Then that's the end.
I didn't know the last
So
5
happy
seconds was a dead air. I didn't know that's what we were doing there.
Well, that's awesome. And being as we're talking about Caddy with Paul, we got, like you've already alluded to, we got a slightly different stroll down or stroll over to Cadillac Corner this week.
But let's take it.
It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner.
I don't think I got a chance to say thank you to Paul. So thank you for that report, Paul. Always a pleasure to hear from you. Yeah,
cheers, Paul, and cheers for throwing shade on Sap. We'll just say that he did ridicule you.
Definitely didn't do that.
No, you definitely did. I remember it. Definitely, I'm with Paul. I remember it.
I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, but you didn't remember Hulk retiring, so you got.
Yeah, but I had too many pops last night.
Okay, collar pinto. So back-to-back week meant there really wasn't that much going on outside of race prep. Brian already found the one kind of caddy video and threw it in the video vault, so we had to go a little bit wider on the corner this time, take the wide line around Cadillac Corner. It was Le Mans this weekend. A lot of people very excited about that. Ben, that has been on the show before, he's actually got a gig working for, I think, McLaren in next year's Le Mans, so he was watching that and keeping everybody updated on the thread, so congratulations to you, Ben, for the new role.
Awesome.
Cadillac were actually winning it for a while. At one point, they were a minute clear of the field, but those Toyotas are pretty good around here.
Yes.
So the number 12 car for Caddy finished 4th in the hypercar standings. Drivers Lynn, Stevens, and Nato, they were the drivers. They brought it in ahead of Ferrari, so maybe some foreshadowing here. Can Caddy start taking on Ferrari? But it was Toyota first and third, with a BMW being the filling of that particular sandwich. So I would like to watch it. I like the idea of it. I don't have the commitment to sit and watch that for 24 hours. So.
Yeah, that's a put it on the TV, walk away, and whenever you're back, watch for a bit. and then if he grabs your attention, you stay, and if not, you walk away and grab a sandwich and do other things and just leave it.
Not if you're Jamie Price. He stayed up all the way through, no sleep, no caffeine, and some of his photos are stunning. But wow, that's dedication to be up
totally
for the entire thing.
You know who one of the drivers was for the winning Toyota team?
No.
Nick Debris.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good old Nick Debris. Right. Okay, let's put a bow around this race weekend then. So in terms of the standings, Lewis Hamilton took a 25-point bite out of Kimi Antonelli's lead. So we've got Kimi at top with 156, Lewis with 115, George at 106, and then actually now a bit of a gap because Charles is in fourth. He's on 75, so he's a big chunk back, and I think we'll leave that for the drivers. Constructors-wise, Ferrari nibbling. It's Mercedes top on 262, Ferrari on 190, McLaren on 141. Those three are the only three that have broken the 100 points barrier this far into the season. And then what we have to really get to is the really key things to round it out. Are our podium predictions and casino games. So in blackjack, I am the happiest person in the world that I went bust because I picked Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz. Lewis by himself scored 25, so I'm well bust. Brian took the Papaya Boys, who interestingly scored 15 points and 10 points, so we both went bust with 25 this week. So there's no points on what you.
Yeah, I did. Had Kimi not retired.
Yeah.
Again, I'm just saying, sliding doors. I would have had 20. I would have had 12, and I would have had 8. I would have had
That's
20. Right. I have had a run of luck that is unbelievable with these casino games. I had roulette, and the FIA is like, oh, we don't think so. And then I had 20 points from my gamble on the Papaya Boys. And then Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes is like, oh, we do not think so, sir. And then I just cannot win. I can't win, please.
So I don't know if you've read ahead in the notes. You might not want to read the next line.
Yeah, I saw that already. It's great.
So roulette table after Brian has his roulette taken away from him last week by the FIA.
And these are hard to do. Like again, these are hard to do. So kudos to you because
I picked George and it wasn't on because Kimi had gone past him, but Kimi's car breaking down elevates George back into second and puts him into my roulette pick.
Well done by you. Well done by you. That is impressive. That is impressive.
And then we both had a poor podium predictions, really. I mean, I got lucky because I picked George and I put him in second, so I get 3 points for putting him on the right step. You had him coming in third. We had Kimi. We both went for Kimi winning it.
Yeah.
And we both thought Max would feature, which really we mentioned him today, I think, once when he got a cheap stop on the VSC. He was in witness protection this whole weekend.
Completely the whole week, and he did fine. He didn't do a bad job. He did a good Max Verstappen job. We just didn't see him. He was never racing anybody. It's kind of the middle of nowhere.
He finished fourth, and he finished 40 seconds behind Lewis.
And he was 20 seconds ahead of Oscar.
Yeah,
that's literally the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, full on witness protection.
He could have boxed for a stop, and if a tree falls in the forest and no one knows, does it count?
Yeah. So, and we just to put a bow while I'm looking at that, we were looking at the timings. We didn't really give a good shout out to fair play to the Racing Bulls. Double points there. Liam Lawson 8th and Lindblad 9th. And good old Colapinto chucking it in for a point as well. Alpine up in 7th. And Isaac was... We don't know how far behind Isaac was from Max because we get just the +1 lap. So it's... But Isaac's still holding his end up there. He's doing well in that second seat.
In quali, he's maybe 2/10 behind. And it's not terrible. He's availing himself of that seat, I think, fairly well. I think if I were him, I'd be pleased with what he's doing, but he's got to keep pushing. Yeah, you nailed it. We didn't talk about the Racing Bulls double points. That's only because Kimi and Charles blew up with 4 laps to go and promoted them from 11th.
You've got to finish. You've got to finish if you want to get the points.
That's true. I'm disappointed by Audi. Maybe Hulkenberg, the button got pushed by some flying gravel. Okay, nothing you can do about that, apparently.
Yeah, I can't believe that.
I can't believe that either. But
so
I trust
amazing
Andy.
if it happened.
But Bortoleto, I mean, they had, going into Monaco, they were saying we're the 4th best chassis on the grid. We got a guy in 11th and a guy who didn't finish. I expect more from them. They feel like the frisky team, the third one there with Alpine, Racing Bulls, and Audi. Because we're getting nothing out of Williams. We're getting nothing out of Haas. We're getting nothing out of Aston Martin. And Caddy is still learning how to be a team at this point, according to from Paul. So it feels like Audi really should be making more of a dent than they are. And the Haas thing is just baffling because Behrman is good, and we're just getting nothing out of that car. But anyway, is what it is. And fantasy-wise, it's still calculating, so we will have a full update next week. We'll go into a little more detail. Sorry for anyone who tuned in for fantasy and waited this long just to hear. We don't have an update on it yet because it's calculating. But the fun part is we'll have a double update next week because they're going to do some Monaco work on the plumbing, and then they're going to do the Barcelona plumbing after that.
Man.
And it's going to be a mess. So we'll find out
is.
what's what at some point. We'll probably have to do a little bit of a deep dive next week on fantasy.
So we got no race next week, but Austria the week after, right? So we've
Yes.
got at least an Austrian preview plus something that we will talk about next week. So yeah, stay tuned for something, ladies and gentlemen.
Stay tuned for something, and if you want your driver to win, put that exact amount of money as their team number in your wallet. Walk around for a couple days before the race, and do not spend $1. Credit card only at that point. What?
I think that's that then, Sap.
Yeah, that's how that worked. Anything else for you, brother?
No, all good.
All right. Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful week ahead. Enjoy it. Be well. Be safe out there. We'll see all you in 1 week's time. $44 got my name on it.